Hello, welcome. My name is Juana Estela, and I will be your moderator and host of today's event. I'm going to give about 2 minutes to let folks come in. But thank you so much to all of you who are joining us this afternoon. Hola, hola. I would love to hear for those who are already joining us today, if you can add in the chat where you're joining us from. We have a really awesome conversation with two of our reps here at WGU. So we definitely want to put some faces to some names as well as we're conversating and going through all the amazing resources provided by WGU. So please add in the chat where you're joining us from. I'm currently here in Chicago. So I've been now part of LIT for about 3 years, living here in Chicago, my full duration, but I will be in the West Coast pretty soon for our summit. So hopefully if you will be attending that as well, I get to meet all of you as well. So let's give about 1 more minute before we start. Hi, Cindy. Welcome from Los Angeles. And thank you for choosing this to be your first event with LIT. It's going to be a good one for sure. From Charlotte, nice to meet you, Anna. Thank you for joining us today. Amazing, amazing. Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. This session today will also be recorded too. So if anybody needs to hop off, we'll be sharing this information with you post-event. But definitely want to give time for also our speakers to have an attempt to speak to you all. So without further ado, again, my name is Juana Estrada, and I am the Senior Manager of Latinas in Tech. And it is a pleasure today to welcome all of you to this amazing conversation with our partners here at WGU. WGU is one of our current newest partners here at Latinas in Tech, but not only that, but they're also an amazing organization that is here to provide educational advancements, both the bachelor's and master's degrees within tech. As one of the largest confers of IT and cybersecurity degrees in the country, the nonprofit of WGU School of Technology, WST, is helping to meet the growing demands of IT professionals within the industry aligned and the cutting edge curriculum by earning valuable industry certifications along with bachelor's and master's degrees at no cost extras. Students are highly employable and equipped with the skills they need to succeed in the workplace. WGE is a distinctive online learning because of the way that they are structured with their programs. Students have opportunity to meet with their program mentors that stay with them from the beginning to the end, such as here today we have Tanya and Renee, who are both program mentors and can explain what they do shortly. So before we get into all that amazing nitty-gritty stuff, we do have some awesome just updates to share with you all. So again, I know we have people here who are new to our network. So once again, thank you for coming to our event today. What we do here at LIT is we provide a plethora of opportunities and resources for you to connect with people who are in the tech space, whether if you're breaking into tech or you're already within a seasoned profession within the industry, we have it all for you here. Whether you're looking for project development, recruitment, or mentorship, we offer that through our programming here at LIT. We also offer a network of over 27,000 members and allies. It's super important for me to highlight that we do welcome allies too. So through that, we have an amazing mentorship program where you can learn more about if you scan the QR code here on the screen. And we have about 22 plus chapters across the globe, not just in the US. So we're also in Canada, we're in Brazil, we're in London, we have presence in Mexico. We opened up a chapter in Dublin a couple years ago too. So we're definitely expanding all across the globe, representing about 20 plus nationalities. And as mentioned, we also have our LIT Summit coming up this month, beginning May 28th to the 30th. So if you are looking to learn more about that, please let me know here in the chat. I'm more than happy to connect with you and find a way to get you to go to summits for low cost. We are definitely looking to get more members here at our community to go, especially to those who are looking to grow in their careers within tech. This is a space that you want to be in for sure. And WGU has an amazing workshop happening that day as during the duration of our conference too, so you don't want to miss out on that. So if you're interested, please send me a message here in the chat and I'll make sure to email you after our meeting today to go over more details. And as mentioned too, WGU is offering is going to have a booth at Summit this year as well. And they're going to be doing a giveaway of two 2,500 tech giveaways, tech everywhere scholarships. This is part of their Be for Women in Tech, building bridges and breaking barriers for women in tech. So again, you do not want to miss opportunity to be part of this amazing conference this year. So again, if anybody here wants a ticket, let me know. Please do not fret. All right. Now we get into the nitty-gritty of amazingness here today. So thank you so much to both Renee and Tanya for being here today with all of us here. These amazing program mentors. Renee is part of the College of IT and Tanya is part of the School of Technology at WGU. Ladies, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Here, I'm gonna put you onto the screen here. I know that was a lot of me talking, so I want to pass the mic on to you both. And if you want to do a quick intro, I'll start with you, Renee.
Okay, great. Well, it's wonderful to be here. I'm happy to be in good company with Latinas in Tech and those of you who showed up today. I hope we do justice to using up a little chunk of your time during the day. I know time is very precious. Let me tell you, that's one of the things we'll talk about a little bit later on. But just a quick little spiel about me. I've worked as a program mentor with WGU for the last 2-ish years. At WGU altogether about 4 years, and I work in the School of Technology. I just realized I had College of IT. We recently transitioned, and I'm like, oh shoot, those are just the same
The same
college.
place.
So yeah, same exact thing. WST at WGU. It sounds like call letters of a radio station. But so with WGU, what I do on a daily basis is I actively support students. Each of us have about a caseload of 125 students. And what I'll tell you is that may seem like a lot, but the one thing I really pride myself on is making sure every student is treated one by one. And I will tell you, as somebody who's worked at schools like San Diego State, Fresno State, the University of Cincinnati, if to me, it's not lost on me, the power of working with students of color, supporting Latinas, supporting Black women, Native American women, and making sure that, as a first generation student, I really echo the reasons why we're in school. And so on a daily basis, I support those students, and I'm so happy to be here in this platform today.
And thank you for your amazing work. I think the education system, especially teachers themselves, are doing God's work for all of us. I always say, you guys are the backbones to our society. Sometimes we forget that. And so giving you the kudos for that, for being part of that, for sure. And for you as well, Tanya, can you share a little bit about your background?
Yes, I'm Tanya. I have a role similar to Renee's. Thank you for that beautiful introduction to our role. I one of the main things that I do is I do work with students that are of a certain population. There are students that are either get to WGU through Amazon or through the Navy. WGU has different arrangements with this place and with them and with others. So, for example, my Amazon students come to college for free, but that doesn't mean that they really their biggest struggle is time, and we're going to talk about it because I think even with our classic students, the biggest struggle is just getting through that being a full-time student and a parent or a kid, or like having people to take care of around you, even if it's not your kids, and getting through that higher education, which is so important. And we are both their cheerleaders and their time trackers and their handholders, depending on what that student needs. Like we do daily calls and texts and emails, and whatever our students need, we try to be there for them. And then we have their course instructors who are the specialists um, on their on each of their classes, but we stay with the students throughout their program and try to get to know them and find the best ways to support them. And yeah, that's me. I've been with WGU for about 3 years, and before I was in online higher education for several more years, working on just building how the classes function. But right now I'm on the student facing side.
That's amazing. And you bring up a really good point too that we can talk a little bit more about. It's just like the importance of finding time and that balance to fit in education. A lot of people put that in the back burner because they feel like right, there's so much on my plate right now. How am I going to fit in a whole curriculum of education or schooling on top of that? But it sounds like at WGU that there is an emphasis of prioritizing how to make time for our students or your students to fulfill their career goals. So that's amazing. I would like to hear from both of you a little bit about kind of, you can delve a little bit about just the barriers that typically you see students face when trying to get a college career degree, thinking about just the imposter syndrome too, that I think a lot of people, even like myself being first gen, I've experienced that. Or even like on a logistical standpoint, like we mentioned, finding that work-life balance is super crucial. How have you been able to help students navigate those challenges and barriers?
I think a lot about this every day because in the chat, everybody's welcome to kind of share a little bit too. I always think about time, right? If we could only have a few more hours in the day to get everything done that we want to get done. And I know that a lot of us probably have to-do lists, whether it's something we keep on our phone, we scroll it out on a little post-it note or wherever we might, find ourselves that day. We just don't have enough of it. And one of the things I hear from students constantly is, you know what, I didn't get to what I wanted to get to, Renee, and they tell me this. And there's no judgment. That's the thing that I know as program mentors, we're really big on no judgment. There's no scolding. Why would you do that? Everybody's a grown person. Everybody has lives. And that's when you get to the nitty-gritty of it. And you talk with students and you find out there's so much that they're juggling. And then you look at your own life and around you and you're like, I get it. I get it. I get having an ex. I get having to take my kid to school and having to pick them up when the schedule changes. I get having aging parents. And one thing a student told me, just to kind of encapsulate all of this, the other day when he answered the phone, he said, I'm really glad that I can operate at my own pace and I can get things done when I can get them done because I've had to go to the vet this week. I've had to take my mom to the doctor, and I know school's there. And it'll be there once I log in and I make a commitment to sitting down and finding those pockets of time. And so, I think about that. I think about time as the barrier, but then again, not the barrier, right? Especially when you have online learning that really works around you and what you prioritize as important, because I never think school is the number one thing. For me, it doesn't have to be the number one thing. It just needs to be part of all the things,
Yeah.
And so that's my spiel on time.
Yeah. Mine, I mean, it's what you were just saying, Renee, but also try to use your time if you want wiser. Like sometimes you don't need to be cramming 5 hours in a day. You don't have to wait till the day that you have 5 hours or 3 or 2. You can do 25-minute stints. And we do talk, I'm sure we do talk about the Pomodoro technique of how just choose one thing, one lesson, something that you're going to do and you're going to get through, and just give yourself 25 minutes. Take half of your lunch hour. Sometimes even wake up earlier. Better than staying late, in my opinion, because then you're fresh to get things. Just try to find a wise way to get the content, get it like put an audio, make your books into audio recordings that you can listen to while you're driving or commuting, or like try to cheat, quote unquote, the system of what the time that you're giving, and try to use it in a way that it's smart for you, but also don't forget about resting. Because if if you don't give time for yourself to rest and some grace, like you were saying, sometimes you won't get to that, all of the lessons, all of your goals for the week. But sometimes you will. And that's what it counts. For me, progress, I had a student who told me the other day, said, I learned something. I may not be moving that fast, but I'm moving. I'm making progress and I'm not quitting. And for me, that's super valuable. Like you're making progress, you're going at your own pace. Some students will go super fast if they have the time and the ability, but sometimes you go slower and that's okay. And 1 weeks are going to go super fast and 1 weeks are going to go slow. And that's the classes, you can work them at whatever pace you can afford. So some classes you'll take a couple of weeks and some classes you'll take a couple of months, and that's okay.
I think that's super important to acknowledge too, is understanding what progress means. And I think you both, especially here at WGU, it sounds like you both are ingrained to really pass on that sentiment of, whatever your progress looks like, it's individual, right? Like to your point, Renee, like life's gonna happen. There's so much. It's not the main priority in your life, but to understand that if you're putting in the effort every single day, you're making that progress to what you're saying, Tanya. But I think what's also really beautiful to hear is the empathy that you bring to to the mentorship that you provide to your students is super important because I think a lot of times people what they do is they get really caught up in fearing that, you know, because I'm not showing up perfectly to get this task done, that it's not worth it. It's kind of like that whole like all or nothing
Exactly.
that I know I struggled a lot with that when I was in college too. I think you mentioned this, Sonia, like waiting last minute 5 hours to crunch everything done. Like I'm guilty of that for sure when I was in college. But you know, now that I'm older, I understand like, right, why would I wait till the last minute, or why would I wait to till I have time to get things done when I can add, you know, priorities here and there. It might not be these large amounts, but little by little, you know, you win the race in that form. So
Yeah.
Right. No, I like that. We talk about, I know, imposter syndrome, deficits, but one thing I always like to chat with students about are, what are the assets that you're bringing to the table? So we look at it from, that vantage point, because I know that when I'm on a call with a student weekly, they've got people to support them. And a lot of times it's positive support. It's support from family members, coworkers, neighbors, you name it. And there's already a support system. And I just say, we're just one more, person there to be a part of that support system. And sometimes when there maybe isn't a support system, I've also had the instance where students are like, yeah, I've told my parents, but they're not quite sure why I'm doing this because I've already had a career and now I'm changing careers. And so we talk about that, right? Because the way you navigate school isn't that you do it alone. You do it with, with again, all the assets that you bring in the door. And a lot of the students we work with, I've got students working at IBM already, at Apple. They're in entry level positions where potentially they're going to advance into a higher paying role. And that's with the education that they earn. But I just always think about that. We talk about barriers. Yes, they exist infrastructurally, and otherwise, but there are also the things you already bring to the table. If you're a leader, if you're a parent, you're a good friend, you have all these things you already do and that you can do for yourself as navigate school.
yeah, I don't think I've ever thought of that when I was in my college educational journey, and I think that's something that I wish I had in mind is what assets do I bring to the table? Because it is
Yeah.
so true. It's a collective network of support. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. I really would love to hear from you both a little bit more about just what you believe overall, right? Just seeing kind of how difficult it is to navigate higher education and getting your educational degree within tech specifically. What is the importance of education for women pursuing or advancing in tech careers to you both? I'll start with you, Tanya, if you don't mind.
Oh, not at all. I mean, I think an education will allow you to move into more better paying jobs, advancement in your career. I mean, I have students that are on their first or second term, and as they start working into their certifications, for example, those certifications allow them to apply for some positions. Some positions they won't even look at your resume or you if you don't have those certifications. So that's kind of a door opener. There is the networking part, and then there is the support that WGU gives you. The Career Center gives you to get internships that are more often than not paid internships, and they're a great open like door opener to different companies. And networking, knowing other students and going getting better in your program in your profession. It's kind of, and I had students to tell me this, like, well, they asked me to have experience, but I can't get experience if I don't have experience. And that happens a lot in tech. And I think that your degree and your classes and your certifications are what covers that space for the entry level experience to get to that first, second, third job, and then be able to advance as you go.
Definitely. It opens up so many doors for you to have
Mhm.
it. question. How about you, Renee? What do you think?
I think about, again, I always reference students, right? It's that I speak to students every day and I want to make sure that, especially in this forum, we know what students are thinking. And so I have one student in particular who was trying to figure out, well, how do I translate all of this coursework into me, feeling confident about being able to go into a first job and knowing what the heck I'm supposed to do day one. And so she was having that self-doubt. And so one of the things I like to do is always pair students with instructors who have had a number of years in the industry, and it's always with a woman of color. I will tell you that. So if it's somebody who's Latina, I try to, match them up with somebody who's Latina as well, somebody who's Black, somebody who's Native American, or somebody who has an understanding, right, as an ally. And so for me, that's super important for students to understand, well, okay, I'm taking web development. Okay, I'm doing Python right now. I'm, doing version control, and I have to get this GitHub, GitLab thing, and I'm not even sure what that's about. And so I make sure that they have that call with the instructor who can let them know what you're doing right now is not only awesome, but it's critical. And these are students who are getting, A pluses, even though WGU doesn't give out letter grades, right? It's pass, no pass. And usually everybody's always passing. But, students want to know, okay, I'm doing really well, I'm passing all the tests, but how does this become like an actual thing? And again, so match them up with instructors. Like Tanya said, there's a career and development center. This is when you're ready to get out there and start looking. So it's not only resume development, it's sitting with the career advisor, doing mock interviews, it's figuring out how do I use this handshake thing? How do I actually maximize LinkedIn? And it's something that is translatable and they get it. I've got students right now who are like, hey, I'm applying for these internships. Can I get my transcripts? How do I get those? And it's exciting. It's so exciting to hear that they're getting out there and they're making it real. And it can happen, I'll tell you, after term 2. And when we say terms, a term is equivalent of 6 months. So in one term, a student will start generally with 12 competency units or CUs. So that's about 4 classes. So within a 6-month time frame, on average, most students are completing 4 classes. And somebody in the chat, they're kind of wondering how fast can you finish a class? I've seen students finish classes in as little as 1 week, 2 weeks, 3, 4 weeks. And exactly, it does kind of depend on the familiarity you have. So maybe you've gone to some boot camps. Maybe you've done some self-teaching along the way. That's going to benefit you because you will knock out classes that much quicker. And that allows you then to not only do the 4 classes you've initially started with, but you could potentially complete upwards of 6 classes, 8 classes. Some students complete 24 competency units in one term. So, just to answer that question that's in the chat, because I feel like that's super important to know about WGU. That's the beauty of it, right? You get to accelerate. You become a super accelerator, as we call students. And they're doing this again while working, you know, um, managing a lot for themselves, their families. And so that is just something I wanted to share as we're talking about that.
I also see here the question, since classes are pass fail, does the transcript show that as well on there?
Danya, do you know how that looks? Do you want to answer?
They show us passed, yeah.
They do.
Even if you don't pass a class on one term, it will show us not passed that term, and then the next term will show us passed.
Got it. Okay, awesome. Do we want to go a little bit into detail about kind of these programs and what they look like? And, I know we talked a little bit about it right now with you, Renee, but just as far as like if someone is looking to apply for a certain program, what are the resources available to them?
Are you talking about programs within WGU itself or?
Yeah, just an overview of
Okay.
just WGU's tech programs and
Okay.
resources available to them through that as well.
Definitely. And I'll just briefly, and I know Tanya, you and I, we both are mentors, but I will say that I work specifically with software engineering students. And so these are students who are working on their Bachelor of Science, their BSSWE, their BISWE as we call it. And the BISWE always starts students off with some really core foundational courses. And so you always start with something like scripting and programming. You build then your way up into Python. You're doing some leadership courses. You have gen eds. Of course, if you have an associate's degree, that's super helpful because you won't necessarily have to worry about doing a natural, I say worry, maybe it's my worry. You won't have to worry about doing a natural science or any additional math. And so with software engineering, what's actually really nice nowadays too is that there is a self-service feature when it comes to applying and even connecting with all the admission steps. So it's just that much more accessible for you to get your foot in the door quicker. And we'll talk about this more, I know, later, but with software engineering as of April 1st, and it wasn't a joke, they have a master's in software engineering that's available now. So I have a lot of students who will roll into that after the bachelor's of science, but there's also for the students currently enrolled in the undergrad option, they are able to do a bridge program. And so they take some additional courses and then within just a matter of time, I would say within as little as 2 years, it can happen for a lot of students. You'll have a bachelor's and a master's degree and at affordable prices. But I know we'll talk about that later on. I'll let Tanya
Yeah,
chime in.
I support mostly the cybersecurity program. I do support some students from the computer science program as well, but I'm not as vested on that program. But it's kind of what you, Renee, were saying. They start with foundational blocks. We do have a specific path that we want the students to work on the classes. They can work at any speed. I mean, there is a minimum speed that they have to do at least one class per term. We recommend at least 3 or 4, um, but there is these foundational blocks, and for the cybersecurity program they start with like intro to IT, and then they move into different classes. They do take, usually between the first and second term, they take their A+ certification that it's divided into 2, and then later on they do network plus and security plus towards the end. So there are, I think it's 4 or 5 certification in the cybersecurity program. And on the computer science program, I don't have it in front of me, so I don't remember. But all of this information is what it's open. It's available on our website if you go and find by each of the programs, which is WGU.edu, the website. And then you go to the School of Technology and you can see all the programs. But the idea is that the students, even students that are not familiar with the topic, they're completely new to IT and cybersecurity, they can start with these foundational blocks. And then the students who are more familiar or have a background, or maybe I had a student once who moved really, really fast, and he had been working in IT and cybersecurity for like 10 years, but he didn't have a bachelor's degree, and he was stuck on his role because he didn't have a degree. And then he moved really fast because all the foundational blocks, he would do it in like a week. It was really crazy. But this is a very unique, I wouldn't take that as this is a very unique case. But if you have those foundational blocks and you can move faster, then you're welcome to do that. And then as you have those foundational blocks, you're gonna get into more complex content. I'm not sure if that answered your question.
Yeah, it definitely.
I got lost on my.
No worries. No, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you so both for sharing that. And as far as applications and processes of that sort, there's obviously some scholarships available to students, but what does that look like as well?
They can reach an enrollment counselor also through the website. Students can start classes monthly. So the application process is maybe 1 or 2 months. It will depend on if they have their transcripts ready, or when, like if they start the process on day 5 of the month, maybe it's longer than if they start, I mean, it's shorter than if they start in month 20 or something like that. Yeah, that applies for master degrees too. The master's degree function in pretty much the same way. You will have to show your bachelor's degree on your transcripts, and then there are, on both programs, there are classes that if you already cover that content at another institution, those classes are waived.
Okay.
We have a lot of, there is a limit on the amount of classes that you can waive, but it's pretty high. I don't know, Renee, if you know that, but
I don't know.
and I had students that had more than 50% of their program waived from previous knowledge. at the time that they arrive to WGU. I know there is a limit, but I don't know exactly what it is. And if anybody has that, needs to know that, I'm sure we can find that information for them. But it's very generous. The credit unit transfer policy, it's very generous, honestly. But that's about it. I think I'm not an enrollment counselor, so I don't know that much about the process, but I know they do go to the enrollment process, and then they have an orientation that they have to fulfill, which is very similar to the classes, and they do that before they start the actual classes. Like the 2 weeks before their term start, they work on their orientation, and then they meet with us.
I have some notes here too, and it also sounds too that, currently right now WGU is responding to the current need of training for artificial intelligence as well. Is that correct? Do you have a little bit of information regarding that as well?
I know they just added AI classes to the computer science program, to the new version of the computer science program that came out 2 months ago, I think. Because we do renew our programs, especially the technology ones, with whatever new technology comes, we try to be on top of that. There are also 3 course certificates. There is one on AI skills that I know it's around. It's an AI fundamentals course. And I'm just looking at my notes because I do have that on my notes. And it's 3 months, and it takes 3 months, and it's $700, $699. And it works with relevant AI skills across different sectors that students may need at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that learning designers are always, actively changing versions of courses. You have to, right? You have to keep up with what is the current trend. And so AI right now is just prevalent in every course that you see, especially within the master's in software engineering. You have a track that is totally dedicated to AI. And I know a lot of people have conversations around this where there are some sets of people who think, oh my goodness, am I going to be out of a job? Is AI taking over? And no, you're not. AI needs the human touch. You need the software engineers to actually, be the driving force behind any change. You just can't let AI function on its own. And so you will find that the courses will change versions. We've got quite a few where that's the case, where you had some courses that were traditional in the sense that you studied, you took a pre-assessment, you do a proctored objective assessment. Nowadays, some of those have been switched to performance assessments. And that's what's really nice about doing anything tech focused at WGU, is that you actually get to start building your portfolio. And so you're doing projects. You're in there in the thick of it with your front end web dev, your back end programming, you're using Java, you're doing C#. You're always actively creating projects, and you take that with you then, whatever internship interview, job interview you have, and it just supports you being legit, right?
Yeah.
And it makes people say, this person knows their stuff. They're still earning their degree. I see this anticipated graduation date, but wow, look what they can do. And
Yes.
so,
Hands-on work that's super needed too. That's amazing.
mhm.
I really would love to, I know, Tanya, you mentioned a little bit of some anecdotes here, but I would really love to hear of any successful stories that you've encountered with women who have been able to leverage their education and breaking into tech. I know we have some folks here who are, may benefit from hearing those stories too, but I know oftentimes, with our more early career network here at Lit, there is a lot of questions as far as like, how is it that I can break into tech, right, if I don't have the background or the education in that. But can you speak a little bit about how the women in your networks have been able to leverage their education to break into tech, whether it be through like an internship experience that they've shared with you, um or even just like in their own hands-on work at the university?
I do think I'll pass it on to you, Renee, if you have
Okay,
any ideas.
sure. So I will share with you a story from a call that I had just last week. Um, younger mom, younger than me, so I guess that's just young, but like 30-something-year-old woman, and she's got a couple of kids, and but life was not necessarily being kind to her for like the last year. But what's fascinating is before that year, she was zipping and zooming through courses. So everything just came very easily. And due to the fact that she had familiarity, a lot of self-teaching boot camps, like I mentioned, and those of you who are looking to get into the field, boot camps really are the way to go, right? So she had actively been passing courses, self-teaching, but then life kind of hit her hard for a while. And so, as life would have it, and it likes to do to us sometimes, it kind of kicked her in her butt a little bit to where she had to take jobs she didn't necessarily want to take. And so, more recently, she was working, I think, at the Dollar Tree and at the same time trying to do like little gig jobs where she was getting some businesses wanting to help them develop some web pages for their new business. So she was doing that for a while. Um, and kind of fast forward to now, after all the storms kind of were weathered and somewhat passed, right? There's always some residue. She was able to get back into school. She did take a term break. That's one thing that WGU is known for. Term breaks can go from 1 to 5 months. So if life happens, you got to get stuff done. You can step away, not stop out, but you can step away for 1 to 5 months and you can handle the stuff you need to handle and have yourself be 100% present for. So she did that, but she came back and she's now heavy into her program once again, passing courses, getting certifications. And she recently got an entry level position. So she's working at a help desk, right? And the people there at her job say to her, Ashley, you know what? We really are looking for a junior software engineer. Would you happen to be that person? And she says, yes, I'm that person. She's, I'll be that person even more so in 6 months from now. So she and I had a conversation. She's like, I got to do this. I got to do this because I'm going to make triple what I make now. Right. So that money piece is super, super critical to her being a single mom, having a couple kids, and, ensuring that her kids have a good life, but so that she also is actively doing the thing that she loves and is awesome at doing. And so she's got 6 months ahead of her, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be challenging. We never mince words about that. But what we do say is that we're here as a support, as an accountability person. And when you need me to kick you in the butt a little bit, I can do that too. And that's one of the things I always ask, what do you need from me? It's not that I assume what people need from me because, again, everybody is so different in what they need. But she's doing it. And she's doing it sometimes scared, right? It's like what they say, sometimes you got to do things scared. And she's doing it, but she knows that she can see herself in this role, especially being in a smaller, state where there aren't as many opportunities. She's in South Dakota right now. And so not as many opportunities. So she even said it. She's like, I got to make this happen because there's not a lot of access to other things around me. And I can't necessarily hold on to thinking about a remote position that may or may not materialize. And again, you do it uncomfortably, you do it scared, but you know what? I always tell people it's not for the rest of your lives. You're going to do this for this 6 months and it's going to feel sometimes real heavy. And you can, like I tell people too, you can cry with me, you can be frustrated, whatever you need to do. I'm here for it. But to me, that's a success story. And there are just so many more like that. And I would love for those of you that are interested to be, a part of, those stories, the good, the bad, the uncomfortable sometimes. Because when you get to graduation, you hear other people and what they've gone through, and you think to yourself, boy, we've all been through it. But you know what? We've all come out the other side and we've all got this degree, which is so powerful, especially as women.
Absolutely. Gosh, that gave me goosebumps just hearing that. And there's power in that story because it shows the rawness of what it is to be able to navigate and juggle, try to navigate your personal life and the personal life struggles, and also navigating your career, which oftentimes people are always searching for that work-life balance, and there really isn't always that thin cut line, right? They kind of mesh and it's gonna be ugly, you know? But the resilience in her story, I love how she is just so determined to say, I'm gonna get it. Like there's no choice but yes. So good for her, and I hope that it all works out and materializes for her for sure. Thank you so much for sharing.
Sure.
Did you want to share one too, Antonio?
Good. I don't think I can surprise that one.
No worries, no worries at all. I did want to now offer the time though, because we already 20 minutes before we wrap up for our audience members to just ask any questions before we conclude our conversation here today. Anybody here in the audience want to ask any questions, please feel free to go off mute as well. You don't have to ask it here in the chat. Marisol, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Marisol, and I've been working in the tech industry for 2 years after I made a switch from social services. And I already work in Gen AI, um, and I've noticed that because I don't have a degree, it's really hard to kind of continue to grow within the tech industry. Right now I'm a technical writer. The thing is, again, I don't have a degree, and my sister actually attended WGU last year, and she just had really great things to say. She was, doing admin in casinos in Las Vegas, and she decided to get her degree in business, and now she's a program coordinator for a construction company. And it happened really fast for her, so she's super smart. So I'm pretty sure that adding the degree in really helped her. um, but she's been encouraging me to attend, and the reason why I'm here today is just to get a little bit more insight, as well as like in the software engineering section of WGU. Like, what do you think is? I'm sorry, there's like garbage cans outside right now. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but
Nope.
okay, good.
You're
It's
good.
like super loud. But yeah, so my thing is like, uh, I definitely want to get a degree in computer science, but I'm just wondering like, what routes have students taken from there? Like, obviously, I want to stay in the AI field, like maybe machine learning or, um, just I've done a little bit of front end as well, but I'm just wondering like, what kind of careers have people taken with a degree in software engineering with you guys?
So with that being said, what I will share with you is that many of the software engineering students, those who already have a foundation, they are currently in junior software engineering positions. So that's where I have many students right now. The ones who are entry level, like I mentioned, a lot of, help desk, a lot of people who are, just kind of at the beginning stages. And I have a number of students who currently, after having earned their degree, they're working at banks. And so a number of them remotely, some not remotely, but they are able to use their degree and they're able to make those steps pretty quickly. I will say that a number of students, they go in the door and they start off as junior software engineers, and then they're consistently asked to interview for new positions. And I've got some students who work with the government, so they have, contract positions, some have short-term positions where they're, using their machine learning skills in those positions to help them climb that ladder. And what I will say, the genes must run in your family, Marisol, because obviously your sister did it. And so we'd love to have you jump on that as well. And I will say sometimes people start software engineering and then they lean towards computer science, just depending on what they see is out there in the market. So a lot of people will be on LinkedIn consistently, or they'll hear from friends and family about new roles and positions, and they think computer science might suit them better. If that's kind of what you're thinking in terms of like, well, which direction do I go? WGU is really good about that. And so if somebody starts software engineering and they express to me they're not sure, we connect them with computer science. And so a program change to computer science is not necessarily a huge leap. It's something that you can do and you can do pretty seamlessly with the support of mentors and managers and whoever else that will help to make sure you're going in the career route you need to go in. And for example, I've got some students who start in the Java series, and all students do. When you're a software engineering student, you start with the Java track. But if you tell me, no, I've got this interest in working with Department of Defense, DoD, and you need C# as your track, we just switch you to that track so that then you're taking C# focused courses and doing projects based upon that. But what I will say again is most people, once they graduate, they secure positions relatively quickly because they've had internships that act as a springboard, or they're in entry-level positions at a company that has lots of options in terms of growth, and they talk to their managers and supervisors about how can I grow once I have the degree. I hope that kind of answers more or less.
Thank you for providing that information, and thank you so much, Marisol, for asking the question as well. I have another question here in the chat from Rebecca. Do you want to actually go off mute, Rebecca, and ask the question? Can you hear us? If not, no worries at all. Rebecca had asked in the chat, do you know of any students that have taken the MBA Information Technology Management route?
I have a few that program change for it, but I work mostly with the undergrads, so I don't have any that I have personally served. I don't know, you, Renee?
I think I've had a couple. So I have a few students who have jumped to the MBA, and those are students who come in the door already having had some business experience. I have one person, she recently joined, and she's got a background in sales. And so she wanted to make sure she coupled that real life experience with the software engineering, but then went on, or that who will go on, future speaking, who will go on to the information technology management. And again, like I mentioned, a lot of people will start software engineering or computer science or vice versa, and then they find the best fit for them. So I've had some students who've actually jumped over to business in the information technology program there. And again, the beauty of starting at WGU is that you're not locked in to anything necessarily. You really aren't. I mean, we'd love to see you follow a degree to the end, but if you decide to change, there's no stopping you in doing that because you got to make sure you're going the route that's going to best suit your needs.
And there are classes that are part of several programs. So when you switch, you're not necessarily
Exactly.
like losing everything that you've done before. A lot of classes will transfer to your new program.
Exactly. Yep.
Amazing, amazing. I think that we have one more question. Anybody else? I saw one hand raised, but I must have missed it. Anyone else? Well, ladies, as we wrap up our conversation today, is there any final remarks that you would like to share with our audience members before we close off?
I mean, one of the things I keep thinking, and I try to tell my students, is that this is an investment in you. Like all this time, all this money, all this effort really, really pays off at the other end of your program. Whatever long that is, it really pays off in better opportunities and better paying opportunities and career advancement.
Exactly. And I think one thing I really talk to students about is how, we're all motivated to do things at first, right? We get excited. We see a commercial on the TV. I know with WGU, there are these commercials. I see them too. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to get another master's degree. But, we all start from a place of motivation, which is excellent to have that motivational wave and to feel like I'm going to do something. It's going to matter. I'm going to add to what I already know, to my skill set, and it's just going to help me. One thing that happens is motivation wanes, right? it wanes. And that's one of the things that at WGU we understand. And that's why there are program mentors who are at the ready. I mean, we're there to bug you every week. We don't really bug you. We set up actual call times. But and I've even had some students who are like, "Oh my gosh, that was one of the things that kind of deterred me at first. I have to talk to somebody once a week." And I'm like, "But we're cool people. Like you're going to want to talk to us." Um, but then they change their tune and they say, "You know what? I really, really needed that call every week because it not only kept me on track, but it helped me to maintain that motivation even when I was just being a human being. I didn't have motivation." And you were able to tell me, "Hey, we need to put some rationale to this and some action steps so that I can feel like I can get out of this slump," or, whatever you might call it. So I think that we can be a lot of places, but I will say that even as a program mentor, I choose WGU. And I hope that a lot of you will invest some time and become motivated and look at some of the programs and share with your networks, WGU, and with your families. A lot of family members are at graduation. You have moms and dads and brothers and sisters, sister and sister who are graduating together. And there's such beauty in that. And it's such a huge thing that it all culminates into graduation. But then know that the real party, comes after when you've got this degree and nobody can ever take it away from you. So that's my piece.
And the one thing that I just remember that I also tell students is that you're not doing this alone. The online environment sometimes can feel a little lonely, but we're here. The instructors are there. You have a different instructor or a specific instructor for each class, and you have your program mentor that you work with, and we are here for you. And we have peer mentors, and there are. I was just taking a look at the chat. There's lots of resources for all kinds of students that they have any special needs. There is a very wide and strong network of support for our students. You're not doing this alone. It's not like just signing up for an online class and hope for the best. Like, we're here with you.
And I would like to just add that, in our current state that we are here, in the US, I think that it's super important to see educational institutions like WGU raise their hand and say that we want to be an ally and support to communities like Latinas in tech. I've been here now for about 3 years, and I will say that I can probably count in my hands the times that I've interacted with universities and colleges alike, that want to support our community. Granted, we definitely cater to a demographic that wants to empower. Our mission is to create HEFAs, right? But I am a firm believer that to create a HEFA, you have to start from the very conception of what that looks like, and that is the early career stages, right? Or even if you're pivoting back and looking into getting an education, like that is where the HEFAs are created. Education is super crucial to the advancement of minorities, women alike. So thank you so much to WGU for being with us today. And thank you so much for being an ally to our community and providing us with all these amazing resources and information. Again, they're going to be at Summit. So if anybody who is on the call today, like I mentioned earlier, if you're going or looking to go, please contact me. WGU is also raffling scholarships as well. So they want you guys to be part of this. They want us to be engaged with them. So do not take this for granted. Especially for those who are exploring the ideas of going back to school or starting your careers for sure. But just thank you to both of you ladies for your time today. I really appreciate